On radio, online and mobile. You're with SBS Radio. Good evening and welcome to SBS World News Radio. I'm Peggy Giacomellos.
And I'm Darren Mara. Coming up.
There's going to have to be a substantial transition period from one provider to another.
A new question mark hanging over the management of Australia's offshore detention centres.
Also on the program...
We now have more eggs in the China basket than Australia's had with any nation since the UK in the early 1950s.
Warnings Australia would not be able to avoid a recession if China's economy stumbles.
And...
sometimes someone doesn't even cover my rent money, but is still happy because maybe long run will succeed.
starting a restaurant from scratch, the challenges of setting up a small business.
All that and more coming up after a bulletin of the latest news.
Good evening. With the news at 6 o'clock, I'm Darren Mara. Federal Labor is again questioning the need for a taxpayer-funded loan to help fund the Adani coal mine development in Queensland. The government will have the final say on an application from the Indian mining giant for a $900 million concessional loan to pay for a rail line between the proposed mine and a coal port. Opposition leader Bill Shorten says he wants the project to succeed and new jobs to be created, but he says Adani shouldn't have to borrow money from taxpayers.
I want Adani to succeed, but it's got to stand on its own merits. We can't just... The Australian taxpayer should not be an ATM for Indian coal mining companies.
Well, the Prime Minister has indicated he may not agree with the move to allow first home buyers to use superannuation savings for a home deposit. It's a measure reportedly being considered by the Treasurer Scott Morrison as part of a housing affordability package in the May federal budget. The policy is said to have split coalition MPs, while Labor and the Greens say they won't support it. Speaking in India, Malcolm Turnbull recalled previous remarks in which he said the idea is thoroughly bad. Mr Turnbull told Sky News superannuation contributions have an intended purpose.
The purpose of superannuation is to provide for retirement. That's the objective, the legislated objective of superannuation is to provide for retirement. That's the whole purpose of it, and that's why the whole system was set up in the first place.
Good system?
It is, I believe, yes, it is.
The Queensland Premier has criticised the federal government's refusal of a request for disaster assistance for farmers in areas affected by Cyclone Debbie. The funding gives eligible farmers immediate access to grants of up to $25,000. Anastasia Palaszczuk says she was told it would be approved, but the federal government argues the state failed to provide the correct information in its application. Ms Palaszczuk says the government must help farmers straight away.
I'm now calling on the federal government to stop playing politics with this, to actually come to the table and work with my departments and my agencies as we seek to rebuild this state.
The Victorian Health Department has confirmed 5 cases of Legionnaire's disease in Melbourne. It says 3 men and 2 women all reported working in or around the CBD days before becoming ill. China's President Xi Jinping has urged his United States counterpart to find a peaceful resolution to rising tensions over North Korea's nuclear program. China's state broadcaster reports that Mr. Xi made the plea during a phone conversation with Donald Trump. Mr. Trump earlier called on China to do more to contain its neighbour, declaring he's prepared to solve the problem even without China's help. North Korea says it's ready to respond to what it calls US aggression after America deployed an aircraft carrier to waters off the Korean peninsula. German investigators are examining a letter found near the site of an explosion that hit a bus carrying football players in the city of Dortmund. Multiple devices are said to have detonated near the vehicle, transferring players of the Borussia Dortmund team from their hotel to a scheduled match. One player was injured in what authorities are treating as a targeted attack. Authorities say the letter takes responsibility for the incident. The US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson is in Russia for talks as tensions grow between the two countries over Syria. The US wants Russia to abandon support for Bashar al-Assad's government in the aftermath of a suspected chemical weapons attack. America insists the Syrian government is to blame, but denies it will send forces into Syria after last week's missile strike on a state airbase. And African migrants and asylum seekers trying to reach Europe are being sold into modern-day slave markets in Libya. That's according to the International Organization for Migration, which says victims have told of being captured by militia groups or people smugglers and sold in town squares and car parks. A report by the UN agency says hundreds of people are known to have been caught up in the practice. Wael El Hamrouni from the Libyan National Commission for Human Rights told the BBC the IOM findings confirm what's already known.
There are markets where slaves are being sold in Libya, mainly in the city of Sabha. There are some in Tripoli as well, and this is all done under the supervision of armed militias, which are in charge of these markets. But this has been going on for a very long time.
And now look at tomorrow's weather. Perth, mostly sunny and 27. Adelaide, sunny and 25. Melbourne, early fog, a sunny afternoon and 23. Hobart, mostly sunny 22. Canberra, similar conditions and 21. Wollongong, a possible early shower 22. Sydney, a morning shower or two 23. Newcastle, similar conditions and 21. Brisbane, partly cloudy 27. Cairns, similar conditions 30. Darwin, showers, a possible storm, and 31. Peggy, more on those stories coming up on SBS World News at 6:30.
Thanks to Darren Mara there. And across Australia, you're listening to SBS World News Radio. Peggy Giacomellos with you. The time is 6 past the hour.